12-year-old human boy saves elderly alien from heart attack, changing his life forever in just 24 hours. The encounter. It was a warm, quiet afternoon on New Arcadia Station, a bustling hub on the edge of human and alien-controlled space. For 12-year-old Alex Carter, it was just another day of helping his mom with errands, carrying bags, and tagging along as she made her way through the crowded markets. New Arcadia was a melting pot of species, a place where humans, Drell, Zyril, and other aliens moved side by side, bartering, laughing, and occasionally arguing in languages that Alex didn't understand. Alex's mom had ducked into a shop to barter for some parts, leaving him outside to sit and people watch. That's when he spotted the alien and elderly Zyril, by the look of him. His light gray scales had dulled with age, his hunched form supported by a cane. The Zyril looked oddly out of place amidst the bustling crowds, moving slowly and deliberately, as if every step was an effort. Alex noticed the way the Zyril stumbled as he moved, his free hand suddenly gripping his chest. The alien's eyes grew wide with pain, and his breath turned to short, labored gasps. Then, without warning, the old Zyril collapsed to the floor, his cane clattering beside him. The crowd seemed to part, some gasping and others hurrying away, too unsure or scared to approach. But Alex didn't hesitate. He sprinted over, dropping to his knees beside the alien, whose breathing was shallow, his eyes slightly glazed. "Sir," Alex said, his voice wavering with worry. "Can you hear me? Are you okay?" The Zyril's eyes flickered, focusing on Alex for a moment. With a weak, shaky voice, he managed, "Heart, my heart." Realizing the alien was having a heart attack, Alex remembered something from his school health class on New Arcadia's alien populations. Zyril hearts were much more fragile than human hearts. Alex looked around, hoping to see someone who might be able to help, but most of the crowd was either frozen in place or slowly backing away. All right, I've got this," Alex murmured to himself. He placed his hands on the Zyril's chest, recalling the technique he'd learned in his class. Zyril resuscitation was different than CPR. Rather than compressions, they required small, rhythmic pulses applied to a specific spot near the center of the chest. It was delicate work, and Alex's hands were shaking, but he forced himself to focus, applying gentle, steady pulses just as he'd been taught. The Zyril's breathing stabilized little by little, his eyes clearer as he looked up at Alex in a mix of confusion and gratitude. Finally, the old alien took a deeper, steadier breath and managed to sit up, his clawed hand resting on Alex's shoulder for support. "You saved my life, human child," the Zyril said, his voice trembling with both exhaustion and amazement. "To act so quickly, and without fear, thank you." Alex felt his cheeks flush. I didn't even think, I just knew I had to do something." The Zyril chuckled weakly, a raspy sound that echoed in his chest. "That instinct may very well be the greatest strength of your species. I owe you a debt, young one." But before Alex could say anything, the Zyril shifted, carefully reaching into a pocket on his long coat and pulling out a small, intricately engraved metallic device. He held it out, pressing it into Alex's hand with a solemn expression. "Take this," the Zyril said. "It is called a relic key. I cannot explain now, but trust that it is both rare and precious. And know this, your life will never be the same." Alex's mind swirled with questions, but before he could ask any, his mom emerged from the shop, her expression shifting from irritation to shock as she saw Alex kneeling beside the alien. "What on earth? Alex, what happened?" The Zyril gave a slight bow to Alex's mother, his voice respectful. "Your son saved me. I am in his debt." With a final nod to Alex, he turned, slowly vanishing into the crowd, leaving Alex alone with the strange metal object in his hand and a feeling of excitement and mystery settling over him. Little did Alex know, the relic key would be the doorway to an adventure that would change his life forever. The relic key. Later that evening, Alex sat cross-legged on his bed, staring at the metallic device the old Zyril had given him. He turned it over in his hands, tracing the intricate engravings carved into its surface. It was cool to the touch, surprisingly heavy, and seemed to pulse with a faint, bluish glow whenever he moved it. Alex's mom had given him a worried look when they'd returned home, but after Alex explained that he'd helped the old alien, she'd smiled, ruffled his hair, and said she was proud of him. But even her pride couldn't shake the odd feeling he had about the device. He felt as though it was waiting for him to figure something out. Unable to shake the mystery, he decided to bring it up to his best friend, Taruk. A fellow 12-year-old with an insatiable curiosity and a knack for all things tech, Tarek had grown up on New Arcadia and was a self-proclaimed genius when it came to alien tech. The next morning, Alex found Tarek at their usual spot in the park near the station's central garden, his friend already tinkering with a small drone he'd built from spare parts. "Hey, Tarek," Alex said, trying to keep his voice casual, "you ever heard of a relic key?" Tarek raised an eyebrow, his interest piqued immediately. "A relic key? Alex, where'd you hear about one of those? They're supposed to be legendary, like something out of one of those stories my granddad tells." Alex hesitated, then pulled the device from his pocket, holding it out. Tarek's eyes widened as he took in the small, engraved object, practically snatching it from Alex's hands. "Alex," he whispered, his voice full of awe, "this is the real deal. This could open anything." Some people say relic keys are ancient devices made by a long-lost alien race. They're like universal keys. Sometimes they open hidden chambers, sometimes they power old ships, and some say they even unlock entire worlds. Alex's heart raced. "But I don't know how it works. The old Zyril just gave it to me and left. He didn't explain a thing." Tarek examined the engravings more closely, tapping one of the small blue symbols. Sometimes they're activated by the user's DNA, or by certain gestures. "My dad once told me they respond to a person's intent. Try holding it and, I don't know, think about what you want it to do." Alex gave Tarek a skeptical look but took the device back, holding it firmly in his hand. He closed his eyes and tried to focus, thinking about uncovering its purpose. To his surprise, the device warmed in his palm, and a faint vibration buzzed through his fingers. When he opened his eyes, a small holographic display had appeared above the relic key. It showed an unfamiliar map, a series of stars and planets Alex didn't recognize, but one star system glowed brighter than the others, with a small pulsing icon at its center. A set of strange alien symbols appeared alongside the map, and as he looked closer, Alex realized it was a set of coordinates. "Alex," Tarek said, breathless, "those look like coordinates. I think the key is showing you where to go." "Where to go?" Alex's excitement was mixed with a jolt of nervousness. "But why would it show me that? And how am I supposed to get there?" Tarek thought for a moment, tapping his chin. "Well, we could try to figure out where those coordinates lead. My uncle works in navigation on one of the ships stationed here. I can ask him, and he'll help us find out where that location is. And if it's close by, maybe we could go check it out ourselves?" Alex felt a thrill run through him. The idea of leaving New Arcadia, even for a little while, seemed impossible but exciting. He couldn't ignore the feeling that the old Zyril had given him this key for a reason. "All right," Alex agreed, pocketing the key. "Let's find out where this thing wants me to go." Later that night, Alex couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the pulsing star system on the map, about the old Zyril and the strange sense of importance he'd felt when he'd been handed the key. Just as he began to drift off, a small beep sounded from his bedside hollow. It was a message from Tarek. "I found out where the coordinates lead. Meet me tomorrow morning, and I'll explain everything." Alex's heart raced with excitement. He knew that something big was about to happen, something far beyond anything he'd ever imagined. Little did he realize that this journey would take him across the stars and into the heart of a mystery that could change the galaxy forever. The journey begins. The next morning, Alex raced through New Arcadia Station's crowded corridors, his heart pounding as he thought about what Tarek had discovered. He found his friend waiting at their spot in the park, barely able to contain his excitement. "You're not going to believe this," Tarek said, a grin spreading across his face. "I ran those coordinates past my uncle, and he cross-referenced them with the star maps. They lead to a place called Orin's Ring." "Orin's Ring?" Alex repeated, intrigued. "What is it?" Tarek lowered his voice. "It's an ancient, abandoned research station, somewhere out on the edge of Zyril territory. My uncle said it's supposed to be packed with old tech and relics, and most people avoid it. They say the Zyril once used it as a secret facility before it was mysteriously shut down. No one's been there in decades." Alex felt a shiver of excitement and fear. "Do you think the Zyril who gave me the key used to work there?" Tarek shrugged, his expression serious. "Maybe. But it makes sense, right? If the key unlocks something important there, it might explain why he gave it to you." "All right," Alex said, determined, "then we need to get there and find out." Tarek bit his lip. Well, that's the tricky part. My uncle doesn't know about the key, and he thinks I'm asking out of curiosity. But I found out there's a transport shuttle scheduled to make a supply run close to Orin's Ring tomorrow. If we can get on board, we could, borrow an escape pod and head for the station. Alex's eyes widened. Wait, borrow? Are you suggesting we sneak onto a shuttle? Got any better ideas? Tarek grinned. Besides, once we're close, I can use my uncle's ID to override the shuttle's pod controls. We'll drop close to Orin's Ring, check it out, and be back before anyone knows. The plan was reckless and more than a little risky, but Alex's curiosity was too strong to resist. All right, I'm in. Let's do this. The next day, the boys snuck through the loading docks, darting between crates and stacks of equipment until they reached the supply shuttle. Tarek quickly used his uncle's access code to slip them on board, and they hid in the back, trying not to breathe too loudly. The engines roared to life, and the shuttle slowly pulled away from New Arcadia, taking them further from home than either of them had ever been. Once they were a safe distance from the station, Tarek led Alex to the escape pod bay. Here we go, he whispered, his fingers flying over the control panel as he activated the pod's manual release. The small pod hummed as it powered up, and Alex climbed inside, his heart hammering. This was it. They were really doing this. With a quick nod, Tarek sealed the hatch and initiated the launch. The pod detached from the shuttle and drifted into open space, guided by the coordinates from the relic key. For a moment, they were surrounded by the endless, awe-inspiring view of stars and nebulae, the vastness of space pressing in around them. Then, just ahead, a massive structure loomed out of the darkness, Orin's Ring. The ancient station floated in silence, a ring-shaped fortress with dark, empty corridors and towers that spiraled outward. It was clear that Orin's Ring had seen better days. Its hull was scarred, some of its lights flickering faintly, but the station still radiated an aura of mystery and power, as if it held secrets that had been waiting for someone to uncover them. As their pod approached, Tarek triggered the docking mechanism, and they latched onto one of the station's abandoned airlocks. The boys climbed out, their breath fogging up their helmet visors as they adjusted to the eerie silence. This place gives me the creeps, Tarek muttered, glancing around. Feels like we're the only ones here. Alex held the relic key in his hand, its glow pulsing softly, as if guiding him. Let's find out what this thing wants us to see. They moved through the dimly lit corridors, past rooms filled with strange machines, broken consoles, and data screens coated in dust. The key continued to pulse in Alex's hand, growing warmer as they neared a massive metal door marked with symbols that looked like an ancient form of the Zyro language. Tarek studied the markings. This has got to be it. If the key does anything, it's going to be here. Alex took a deep breath and held the relic key up to the door. As soon as it came close, the symbols on the door began to glow in response, and with a grinding noise, the massive door slid open, revealing a dark chamber beyond. Inside, the walls were lined with panels covered in inscriptions, and in the center of the room stood a single pedestal. Resting on the pedestal was an intricate, holographic device that looked like a cross between a map and a power source, glowing with an ethereal light. Tarek's eyes widened. That's a Zyral Nexus core. I've only heard stories about these things. They say it can power anything, even entire stations like this one. Alex approached the core, feeling a strange pull toward it. As he reached out, the core pulsed, projecting a holographic map above it. The map zoomed in, revealing an entire star system marked with various points of interest, each one labeled in the ancient Zyral language. Suddenly, the key in his hand flared to life, and a voice echoed in the room, calm and wise. Welcome, Keeper. You have been chosen to guard the lost secrets of the Zyral. This Nexus core is yours to protect and wield, a gift from the past to ensure a better future. Alex looked at Tarek in shock. Did it just call me Keeper? Tarek was speechless, but nodded. It did, and it's talking about you. Alex, you've been chosen to guard this thing. The realization settled over him. The old Zyral had given him this key not just to save his life, but to entrust him with something ancient and powerful, something that might change the course of the galaxy. But as he held the core, a faint hum sounded through the walls, and Tarek's face paled. Alex, I think we triggered some kind of security system. We're not alone anymore. Alex's heart raced as he pocketed the core and turned back toward the door. They could hear metallic footsteps echoing down the hallway, and the distant glimmer of red lights grew closer. Run! Alex shouted, gripping the core as they bolted from the chamber, the sound of pursuing guards filling the empty halls. Their adventure was only just beginning, and they had no idea what they'd unleashed. The escape. Alex and Tarek's footsteps echoed through the dark corridors of Orin's ring as they ran. The Nexus core clutched tightly in Alex's hand. The red security lights flashed through the halls, and metallic footsteps grew louder behind them. "Which way?" Tarek shouted, his voice tinged with panic as he looked down several darkened hallways. Alex felt a surge of determination, his instincts guiding him. "This way," he shouted, taking a sharp left down a narrow corridor that sloped downward. They dashed through the dimly lit hall, their breaths coming in sharp, anxious gasps. The old Zyral's words echoed in Alex's mind, calling him a keeper. The Nexus core in his hands pulsed with a warm glow, as though it was recognizing him, urging him onward. Just when he thought they might have lost their pursuers, Tarek suddenly halted, grabbing Alex's arm. "Alex, look!" Ahead of them, several towering security drones had emerged from a side corridor. Each drone was armed with energy blasters, their red sensors fixed menacingly on the two boys. Alex's stomach churned as the drones powered up, their metallic voices declaring, "Intruders detected, surrender immediately." "No way out," Tarek muttered, his voice tight with fear. "We're trapped." Alex's mind raced. He couldn't let the core fall back into the station's hands. He clutched the relic key in his free hand, focusing on it, willing it to help them. To his amazement, the key warmed and projected a faint blue field around him and Tarek. The drone's sensors blinked in confusion, and their blasters hesitated, as if unable to lock onto the boys. Tarek's eyes widened. Did you just make us invisible?" Alex looked down at the relic key in awe, its energy flickering in response. "I think so. Let's go before it stops working." Keeping quiet, they slipped past the drones, who were now scanning the area in apparent confusion. As soon as they were out of range, Alex's grip on the key relaxed, and the blue field faded. They ducked into a hidden maintenance shaft and made their way through the cramped passage. After several minutes of crawling, they finally reached the hangar where they'd left the escape pod, but as they emerged from the shaft, they froze. Standing in the middle of the hangar, flanked by two tall, cloaked guards, was the old Zyral. His eyes were fixed on Alex with a steady, knowing gaze. The Zyral raised a clawed hand, his voice calm but resonant. "You have taken the Nexus core, young keeper, and now you must understand what it truly means." Alex's heart raced. "Wait, you gave me the relic key. You wanted me to find this." The old Zyral nodded slowly. "Indeed, I did, but the core is no ordinary artifact. It is a piece of our history, a repository of knowledge and power beyond what you can imagine, and it comes with responsibilities that even I could not bear." Alex glanced at Tarek, who looked equally bewildered. "But, why me?" he asked, feeling the weight of the Nexus core in his hand. "I'm just a kid." The Zyral's gaze softened. "You acted with courage and selflessness when you saved my life. Those are qualities of a true keeper, and the core recognized them." He stepped forward, his eyes narrowing. "But if you choose to keep it, you must be willing to guard it with your life." Alex felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. The core pulsed in his hand as though urging him to accept. He glanced at Tarek, who nodded encouragingly, then looked back at the Zyral with determination. "I'll keep it," Alex said. "I don't know what it all means yet, but I'll protect it." The Zyral gave a small nod of approval. "Very well, but know this: others will come for the core. Some seek its power to control, others to destroy. You must remain vigilant, for enemies are already on their way." Just as the Zyral finished speaking, the hangar doors began to shake, an alarm blaring through the chamber. The screen on a nearby console flickered, showing several ships descending toward Orin's ring, their weapons primed and ready. The Zyral's expression darkened. "It appears our time is up. They are here." Alex gripped the Nexus core and the relic key tightly. "Who's here?" "A faction called the Red Talon Syndicate," the Zyral replied, his voice grim. "They've been searching for the core for decades. If they capture it, they'll use its power to wreak havoc across the galaxy." Tarek's eyes widened. "So we need to get out of here, now." The Zyral gestured to a small, sleek spacecraft docked at the far end of the hangar. "Take my ship. It has advanced cloaking capabilities and will buy you some time. I'll remain here to delay them." Alex hesitated. "But they'll capture you." The Zyral gave a tired smile. "I am old, and my time is almost over. But you Young keeper, have a long journey ahead. Go, and remember, the core will always guide you. With a final nod, Alex and Tarek dashed toward the ship, climbing into the cockpit and activating its controls. As they powered up, the Zyral stood in the hangar, his gaze calm and resolute as he watched them depart. The last thing Alex saw was the Zyral raising his hand in farewell, his figure shrinking as they shot out into open space. As they entered the quiet vastness of space, Tarek exhaled, breaking the tense silence. That was way too close. Alex clutched the core, feeling a new sense of purpose. The Zyral sacrificed himself to protect this. I can't let it fall into the wrong hands. He activated the ship's coordinates, which showed a distant star system marked as a safe location, but the monitor pinged, and Alex's heart skipped a beat. The Red Talon Syndicate's ships were already trailing them, moving fast. What now? Tarek asked, nervous but determined. We do what he told us to, Alex replied, his face set with resolve. We protect the core. With that, Alex pushed the ship's engines to full power, guiding them deeper into the stars, ready to face whatever came next. The revelation. Alex and Tarek spent the next few hours in silence, tense as they watched the Red Talon Syndicate ships gaining ground on their sensors. Every so often, Alex would glance down at the Nexus core in his lap, feeling a strange pull that seemed to guide him. The core's glow had softened, almost as if it were waiting for the right moment to reveal its secrets. Finally, after hours of dodging asteroid belts and looping through uncharted space, they reached the coordinates the core had been guiding them toward. As they neared, a massive, glittering structure emerged from the darkness, a space station unlike any they'd ever seen. It was shaped like a giant spiral, its surface covered in intricate engravings that glowed faintly with the same blue light as the core. That's incredible, Tarek whispered, awe filling his voice. It looks like it's been here for centuries. The station didn't show up on any of their systems, as if it were hidden from the galaxy. The Red Talon Syndicate ships seemed to falter as they approached, their pursuit slowing as if they couldn't see what Alex and Tarek saw. I think the core has brought us somewhere safe, Alex said, exhaling in relief. Let's dock and see what it wants to show us. They docked the Zyral sleek ship on a narrow platform attached to the edge of the spiral structure. Once inside, they found themselves in a chamber filled with strange, floating orbs, each one emitting a soft hum. The walls were covered with symbols that shifted and moved, creating a mesmerizing pattern of light and shadow. At the center of the chamber stood a tall, crystalline pedestal, and on it lay a transparent orb that pulsed faintly, matching the Nexus core's glow. It looked ancient and powerful, as if it had witnessed countless millennia. Alex stepped forward, clutching the Nexus core tightly. As he brought it closer to the pedestal, the core glowed brighter, resonating with the orb as though they were communicating. Suddenly, a deep, warm voice filled the chamber. Welcome, Keeper. You have brought the core to its home. Alex and Tarek exchanged a stunned glance, their eyes wide. Who are you? Alex stammered. The voice softened. I am a remnant of the Zarash, the ancient ones who crafted the Nexus core and its counterpart, the Conduit. Together, they hold the knowledge and power of our people, but we could not protect them forever. We entrusted the core to a keeper who would keep it safe. And now, you, young human, have taken on that role. Tarek's eyes gleamed with excitement. So this core, it's not just powerful, it's like a library of everything the Zarash knew? Yes, the voice replied, but it is more than knowledge. The core can reveal hidden truths, provide advanced technology, even communicate with other sentient devices. With the Conduit, the core's full potential can be unlocked. Alex held up the core, watching it shimmer. Why me? I'm just a kid. The voice was warm, almost like a parent speaking to a child. Because you showed compassion, courage, and an unselfish heart. Those who seek the core for power or control cannot bond with it. But you, Alex, have shown the qualities of a true keeper. With the Conduit and the core together, you will have the ability to shape a future free from those who would use it for harm. As the words sank in, a familiar ping sounded from the console nearby. Alex and Tarek turned to see the Red Talon Syndicate ships closing in. They'd found a way through, and their engines blazed red as they approached the station. Tarek's face turned grim. They're here. They must have followed some kind of signal. The voice from the chamber spoke again, this time urgent. Take the Conduit and go. Keeper. Together, the core and Conduit will guide you to safety and reveal the next steps in your journey. Alex reached out and placed his hand on the transparent orb. The conduit glowed, and then, seamlessly, it merged with the core in his hand. He felt a surge of energy flow through him, filling him with a sense of strength and clarity. The path forward was suddenly clear. He looked at Tarek, his voice firm. "Let's go, we can't let them get the core." They ran back to the ship, launching it just as the Syndicate's forces reached the station. The ancient structure's lights flickered, and then, as though responding to the core's presence, it generated a massive energy shield that blocked the Syndicate's attacks. As they sped away, Alex could feel the core guiding him, a gentle pulse that felt like a compass pointing toward the edge of known space. "What now?" Tarek asked, glancing back at the station as it faded into the distance. Alex held up the core, watching its glow pulse in harmony with his heartbeat. "We keep moving. The core wants us to find something else, and I think it's leading us to others like us. There might be other keepers out there." Tarek's face lit up. A whole network of keepers, like a team? That would be incredible. As they ventured further into the stars, Alex felt a sense of responsibility settling over him, heavier than anything he'd ever felt before. But he also felt a sense of purpose. He wasn't just a kid anymore, he was a keeper, a protector of ancient knowledge, with a new journey stretching out before him. Whatever challenges awaited, he knew he wouldn't face them alone. The Keeper's legacy. Alex and Tarek's journey led them through the uncharted regions of the galaxy, where few dared to venture. Following the guidance of the Nexus core and the conduit, they eventually reached a small, hidden star system with a single, habitable moon. It was here that they discovered a vast, ancient temple hidden within a canyon, its walls covered in inscriptions and symbols similar to those on the core. The boys stepped into the dark hall of the temple, which soon lit up with a soft blue glow. A projection of the same Zarash elder they had seen at Oren's ring appeared before them. "Keeper," the holographic figure greeted Alex, bowing his head slightly. "You have come far, but your journey is not over. This place contains a network of knowledge, the Covenant of Keepers, forged to guard the power of the Nexus core and keep it out of the hands of those who seek to control or destroy." Tarek's eyes sparkled. "So there are other keepers?" "Yes," the elder said, "scattered across the galaxy. They too have bonded with relics similar to the core. And now, by uniting the core and conduit, you have reactivated this ancient network. You are no longer alone, young keeper." Alex looked at the core in his hand, its glow steady and strong, and felt a sense of connection, as if the voices and memories of other keepers from across time were now part of him. But before he could respond, the temple shook with a violent tremor, and the lights dimmed. A nearby console flashed red, displaying an alert. A large fleet had arrived in the system. The Red Talon Syndicate had tracked them down. "They found us," Alex whispered, gripping the core tightly. Tarek looked around, desperate. "What do we do?" The Elder's hologram responded with a calm intensity. "You must activate the temple's defenses. The core will guide you. But remember, a keeper must know when to protect and when to show mercy. Today, the galaxy will see the power of those who stand for peace." Alex took a steadying breath and approached the temple's main console, pressing the core against it. The walls hummed with energy, and powerful beams of blue light surged from the temple, encircling the moon in a protective barrier. The Red Talon Syndicate's ships opened fire, but their blasts dissipated against the shield. Then, the core pulsed, and Alex felt a presence within him, other keepers, lending him strength and wisdom from afar. Outside, a dozen ships emerged from hyperspace, bearing the markings of different alien races and technologies. They were the vessels of other keepers, answering the Nexus Core's call. Together, they surrounded the Syndicate fleet, each ship aligning with the temple's protective shield, amplifying its power. For the first time, Alex heard voices through the core, the voices of other keepers uniting with him. "Stand firm, young keeper," an elderly voice said. "We are with you," another added, calm and steady. The Syndicate forces, realizing they were outmatched, attempted to retreat, but Alex's voice echoed through the communication channel, calm but resolute. "Red Talon Syndicate," he announced, "your pursuit ends here. You have chased a power that was never yours to wield. Leave now, and you will not be harmed. Persist, and the Keepers will defend this place and the core with all our strength." The Syndicate's ships hesitated, their captain's face appearing on Alex's screen, eyes narrow with frustration. But the presence of the Keeper's allied fleet, and the strength of the shield around the temple left him no choice. With a final scowl, he nodded and signaled the syndicate ships to retreat. One by one, they blinked out of sight, leaving the system. As the quiet of space returned, Alex felt an overwhelming sense of relief. The temple's shield dimmed, and the core's light softened, signaling the end of the conflict. He looked at Tarek, who was grinning with a mix of awe and pride. We did it," Tarek said, laughing with relief. "We really did it." The Zarash Elder's hologram reappeared, his expression full of approval. "You have proven yourself a true keeper, Alex. You wielded the core with both strength and restraint, as all keepers must. Now, you must choose: will you continue as a keeper, guarding this knowledge, or return to your world, your duty fulfilled?" Alex looked down at the core in his hand, feeling the warmth of its energy, the responsibility and the purpose it had given him. He remembered the Zyral Elder who had trusted him, the journey they had taken, and the allies he'd met along the way. "I'll stay," Alex replied firmly. "I want to protect what the core stands for, to help others like me keep this knowledge safe." The Elder's eyes softened. "Then, Alex, keeper of the Nexus core, your journey is only beginning. May you continue to bring peace to a galaxy in need." The hologram faded, and Alex felt a profound sense of belonging, as if he had found his place among the stars. With Tarek by his side and the Nexus core in his hand, he was ready to face the future, knowing he was no longer just a kid from New Arcadia Station. He was a keeper.